Today we are going to start looking at one of my personally favorite topics, and that is consumer buying behavior. We're going to look at it in 3 different segments. This first one that we're going to talk about today is dealing with how consumers make decisions, the process they actually go through. And I think you'll find it kind of interesting. The other 2 segments are going to be dealing with the influences, the things that affect how you make your decisions. So let's go ahead and get started. Why do we even study consumer buying behavior? What's it all about? I mean, you think you want a product, you go, you buy it, what's the big deal? Well, it's not that simple. We have this mystery, this thing that goes on that we refer to as the consumer black box. What happens is there's some kind of stimuli. Maybe you're hungry, maybe you're driving along and you blow a tire. It could be a stimuli that's induced by marketing, such as you see an advertisement for a product, or something totally unrelated to marketing. But as a result of that stimuli, you make a purchase decision. You decide to go to Walmart and buy 4 new tires that were on sale, a particular brand. Well, how'd you get that? How'd you get from one blown tire to going to Walmart, buying a product on sale, and buying 4 tires as opposed to just replacing the one? When you saw that ad for the pizza, how did you go from seeing a pizza ad to driving to Baskin & Robbins and getting an ice cream cone? What we're trying to do is figure out what goes on in between there. How do you make those decisions? And we're going to be looking at it in pretty broad terms, but I just want to give you some fun examples so you understand what we're looking at here. Do you think that colors influence people? The answer to that question is yes, otherwise I wouldn't have asked it. For example, the color that is the most restful, that makes people feel calm and peaceful, is green. Why is that so? I don't know. But it's okay that I don't know. That's what psychology looks at, and that looks over in those kinds of sciences. In business, we're concerned with the trend. We're concerned that green has this effect. We know that red has a very stimulating effect. In fact, it's so stimulating that you want to be very cautious about how much of it you use. Imagine if you walked into a room with red carpet, red walls, and red furniture. You know, I know you've seen some of those rooms on Trading Spaces and other places like that, but in reality, you'd walk in and go, "Oi, I need out." You know, it's overstimulating. So we know that color does have this kind of effect on people. Color that might surprise you, though, is the one that portrays luxury. What color do you think really gets people to feel luxurious and elegant? Gold? Silver? Black? White? Nope. It's purple. Again, why? I hear it's because of the royalty robes, that we associate the beautiful robes of kings and queens. So I'm not sure how we come up with these color correlations, but that's exactly what the black box comes from. We're trying to understand people's motivations and their thoughts and their influences, which they are most of the time totally unaware of. One more example before we move on to the topic, in keeping with our time element here, is that music can affect people as well. Okay. You believe that, I'm sure. However, do you realize how much? Compare the music being played at different restaurants. If you go to a restaurant where you pay one price and it's all you can eat, the music there is going to be a little bit faster. Not real fast, but a little bit faster. Why? Because people chew to the beat of the music. It's true. It's true. You go into the restaurant, you can check that out. You can see that. Their jaws will go up and down. But that's also why they don't play really fast music, because nobody's going to go as they're eating their food. On the other hand, you go to a restaurant that makes their money, their profit, off of after dinner drinks, off after wine, you know, those kinds of things, which are very high profit. They're going to play slower music because they want you to sit there a while and take your time. This doesn't mean that if you want to eat fast, the music will make you go slow, or the opposite. But if you're not thinking about it, if you're not putting specific effort one way or another, we tend to go to the beat of the music. an experiment that was done one time by a high school student, so I'm not vouching for the validity of it, but it's an interesting study. He took mice. He had 30 mice. He divided it into 3 groups of 10. And he had all of the mice go through a maze. On average, it took them 10 minutes to get through the maze. For the next 24 hours, Group A was exposed intermediately to Mozart. Group B was exposed intermediately to Anthrax, which is a heavy metal group. And the third group didn't listen to any music. After 24 hours, he put them back through the maze again. The group that had not listened to any music, they improved their time from 10 minutes to 7 minutes on average, which was good. The group that listened to Mozart, they had decreased their time from 10 minutes to 5 minutes. But the group that listened to Anthrax, they increased their time from 10 minutes to 30 minutes. And he found that they were even bumping into the walls and things like that. Kind of gives a new meaning to the term headbanger, doesn't it? Am I saying that's what you're going to do? No. But again, we're looking for some of these subconscious influences. So hopefully you'll find this study interesting from not only an educational standpoint, but from a consumer standpoint too as well. Let's look today at how we make that purchase decision. Let's look at the process. The decision-making process has 5 very distinct steps. And the first one is problem recognition. Problem recognition is when you become aware of an unsatisfied need or want. An unsatisfied need or want. Now, there is a difference between needs and wants. However, for most products, it's kind of hard to classify. For example, is a watch a need or is a watch a want? Well, for somebody who's working where they're not around clocks, it's a need. One of the lectures I do is in a room with no clock. It's a nighttime lecture. It lasts almost 3 hours. I need my watch there. I need to be able to tell if we're on schedule, make sure I get them out on time, etc. But in the other classrooms where I teach, there's clocks everywhere, on the computer, on the walls. I don't need my watch there. So in that case, it's a want. It's more of a convenience. So the product's going to differ for your target market depending on their situation a little bit. But the thing is, we in marketing cannot create needs. We can make you aware of them, but we cannot create it. Let's think about a pizza commercial. You've come home from a hard day at work, you're sitting in front of the TV, and up comes this beautiful Domino's pizza. The pepperoni's just sizzling, the cheese is bubbling. You just start to salivate. Oh, this looks so good. You realize that you're hungry. Well, there's all sorts of things you can do about that hunger, but you just realized that you were hungry, and now you got to decide what to do about it. On the other hand, if you saw that same commercial after eating your Thanksgiving dinner, what would your reaction be? It's more likely, oh gosh, no, turn the channel, I can't even look at that, it's going to make me sick. It can't make you hungry, but if there's at least a little bit of hunger there, it can trigger that awareness. So marketing can trigger the awareness in the problem recognition stage, or it may be something totally unrelated to marketing. Like I used in the previous example, you could blow a tire, and you know you need to do something about that tire. So problem recognition means you become aware of your need or want. The next stage then is information search. What are you going to do about it? How are you going to satisfy this issue? And there's 3 different ways that we look at getting information on how we can satisfy it. We're always going to do internal information search. That's just natural. We do it without thinking. It's basing decisions on our past experience, what we already know, our knowledge. We trust that more than anything. So for my example about the pizza, we would probably just stick with internal information search. What could I do about it? I could order a pizza, I could go up to the refrigerator, I could ignore it. Okay, here's what I'm going to do. The information search is purely internal. But in the example with the tire, for me, I don't have enough experience with buying tires to be able to make a decision. So the internal isn't going to be enough. I'm going to go external. And there's a couple different external methods we can use. We can do non-marketing controlled external methods, which are talking to friends or looking at objective sources, or in my case, talking to my husband, say, help, what do I do? Take care of this. Or we could go to marketing controlled sources, which are published accounts, advertisements, information, salespeople, information printed on tags. Those are all things that marketing can provide to help provide information to the customer. Okay, we trust internal first, but internal is actually the least accurate. The most accurate is going to be the marketing controlled external. And the reason for that is nobody knows this product and its limitations better than the manufacturer. So we understand internal is the most trusted, external is the least trusted, but in actuality it should be the reverse. That's never going to change. It's just a fact of life, something we've got to be aware of and live with. Okay, so our information search gives us some opportunities, some ways that we may satisfy this need or this want. So our next step is to evaluate these choices, what we call our consideration set. What do we want to do? Well, we've come up with a list of alternatives, and some of them we've just kind of knocked out. They're just not realistic. They're not ones we're really willing to consider. The ones that are left, the ones that are viable options that we're really looking at, are called the consideration set, and we're going to use different evaluation criterion in deciding which of those to use. Let's say you want to buy a soft drink and your normal brand isn't there. Which one are you going to buy? Well, you may say, okay, I want a diet. That's one of your criterion. And I want a non-cola. And I want something on sale. Okay, those are three different criteria that we would apply to the options that we have available to us. Okay, so that takes place in our evaluation of alternatives. Our next step is the product choice. And the product choice many times comes down to heuristics. Now, I don't know if you're familiar with that word. That's one of my favorite words, actually. Heuristics is kind of a rule of thumb. If you have a need for hunger and you've been dieting, then the first thing you're going to do is go drink a big glass of water and see if that takes care of it. That's a great rule of thumb, one I endorse wholeheartedly. I wish I could do it, but for the rest of you, maybe you can't. Maybe you have a little more self-control than I do on that score. The heuristic is, in this situation, this is what I tend to do. The same is true with brand loyalty. If I'm going to go buy a product, I want this brand. This is what I always buy. So the product choice can be definitely influenced by your past experience. But I want to expand on this product choice a little bit. It is not just the choice of the product that happens here, but it is also where you're going to buy the product. Okay? Are you going to go to the local grocery store, which is still a couple miles away? Are you going to go to the gas station that has a little mini mart where you know you're going to pay more, but it's just a half a block away? Where are you going to go? And how much are you willing to pay for that? Those are all things that go on in this product choice stage. What's more, the whole process can be interrupted when you get down there. You go through every one of these steps. You get down here and you decide, okay, I'm going to go to Marsh and buy this brand of shampoo. But on the way to Marsh, you find there's a road construction and you can't get through. So you say, okay, I'm not going to wait through this. I'm just going to turn around and go to that mini mart instead. You've restarted the entire decision-making process because of something that happened in the middle of that product choice step. So it can be interrupted and start the whole process over again. Not just there, but any place in the process. Now, the last step in this process is one that you've probably never considered, and this is your post-purchase evaluation. This is something that you do consistently. You do it all the time without being aware that you're doing it. Right now, you're watching this video, this tape of this lecture. You are evaluating it. You're evaluating me. You're evaluating the course. If you're taking notes at the same time, believe it or not, you're evaluating your writing utensil. If you're sitting at home on a chair, on a couch while you're doing it, you're evaluating that. Most of these evaluations are very subconscious. We just know if we're satisfied with it or not. Okay. So that leads us to that word satisfaction. Believe it or not, satisfaction does not mean you're happy about it. Oh boy, my pen, this is a wonderful pen. I love my pen. That's not satisfied. That's weird. Satisfied is when your expectations have been met or exceeded. Then you're satisfied. If you expect your pen to be comfortable and write smoothly, if it does it, you're satisfied. If it starts dripping ink everywhere and leaving little splotches, you're not satisfied. Okay, it's just meeting or exceeding your expectations. That is a very important distinction. Let me give you an example you might be able to relate to. Have you ever had a friend tell you, oh, you gotta go see this movie. It is great. It is the best movie I ever saw. It is so wonderful. And you go to the movie and yeah, it was good, but it wasn't that good. You walk away feeling very dissatisfied. On the other hand, if the same friend had said, you know, if you want to go see this movie, go ahead, but I wouldn't recommend it. It wasn't very good at all. It was kind of a waste of my money. But you go, and it was good. You're very satisfied because your expectations were different. In the first case, your expectations were up here, and what actually happened, the actual performance, was below it, so you were dissatisfied. In the second case, your expectations were down here, but your experience came in at the same level. However, since it's higher than your expectations, you're very satisfied. And again, that's an important distinction because in marketing, we want to make sure we help set realistic expectations. Not only is it ethical, it is good business sense. You don't want to make promises you can't keep. You don't want people to expect things that you can't deliver. Okay, so post-purchase evaluation will determine if people are satisfied or not with their product. That's a key issue because if they're satisfied or if they're not, when next time they go through this process, it's going to be part of their internal information search. They'll know if they like that product or not. Okay, now you may be thinking, this sounds familiar, and yeah, I've gone through it when I bought a house, when I bought a car, but when I go out to buy batteries, I don't go through this. Well, there is a reason for that, and that is that there are different types of decisions you make because your level of involvement changes. So what we're going to look at now are those different types of decisions and how your level of involvement changes. Hopefully what you see on the right side of your screen there looks familiar to you since we just spent 20 minutes talking about it. It is the decision-making process. If you have what we call a habitual problem-solving decision to make, this is a situation where you're buying a product over and over. You typically buy the same brand. You don't put a lot of thought into it. You need this product, you go buy it. Okay? That's habitual. For a lot of you, your soft drinks would fall into there. A lot of your personal care items, shampoo, soaps, toothpaste, etc. would fall into that. In that case, what you're doing is you're still going through this decision-making process. Problem recognition means you're out, you need the product, you're thirsty, whatever it may be. Your information search is going to be just internal. Okay, and it's going to be very quick because you know what you get and you know what you want. Your evaluation of alternatives, you'll be skipping. Okay, unless there's something that catches your eye that interrupts the process, you'll probably skip that. But then you'll go down to the purchase and your post-purchase evaluation. But what happens if you're buying your Coke? You're a Coke addict. Ooh, that sounded wrong. Let's make it Pepsi. Okay, you're a Pepsi addict. You're coming through here, problem recognition, you're thirsty. You know you want it. You go to get your Pepsi. You know what? There isn't any on the shelf. The store is out. Oh no, what are you going to do? Well, your habitual problem solving has just become a limited problem solving. And with a limited problem solving decision, you will go through each of these steps. You're not going to spend a lot of time or a lot of effort on it, but you will go through each of these. So in this case, you find out you're out of the product, so you start seeing what else is around. I gave you some examples before where you might be looking for diet soda, etc. You may say, okay, I want the Coca-Cola, or maybe I'll go with root beer, or maybe I'll go with Sprite. but you start evaluating your choices, and then you'll make your purchase decision and evaluation. So in this instance, it changed greatly. Okay? You went from no evaluation to considering different alternatives. One other type of decision making we have is an extended problem solving. And with extended problem solving, you will go through each of the steps in the process. Okay, you don't ignore any of them, and you will spend considerable time and effort on each stage. Consider, for example, if you're buying a home. Problem recognition, maybe you're getting married and starting a family, and your apartment's not going to work anymore. You need to get something a little bit larger, somewhere where your kids can grow up, you can get a dog, etc. So information search, you start looking at different areas that you may be interested in. You might check out school systems. You start finding out what's available, what price ranges are out there. Start getting your ducks in a row. You're going to go more than just internal, because you're not going to know enough about the housing market unless you're a realtor. So you're going to probably hire somebody to help you. You're going to be reading the paper. You're going to be going online. You're going to be collecting a lot of information as well. The evaluation of your alternatives is going to be very extensive. You may actually be making lists and writing things out. Your evaluation criteria, you want so many bedrooms and bathrooms, maybe a fenced-in backyard. You don't want to be more than a mile from an elementary school, for example. And then you're going to go through all the different homes that are for sale in that area and compare them to your price range and those other criteria that I listed. Based on my experience, I can tell you, you will not find a house in your price range that meets all your criteria. It just isn't going to happen. But you're going to find the one with the closest fit, the best fit. And then you will negotiate the process. Something may happen during the process in the purchase stage there that sends you right back to the beginning again, or it may not. You will go through, you buy your home, you move in, and you know in a very short period of time if you're satisfied with that decision or not. So with an extended problem solving, you will go through each stage extensively. Now the last one that we're going to talk about, the last level of involvement, is something so unique that I am sure none of you have experienced. So I will talk very slowly and carefully because I know you've never done it. And it's called impulse purchases. And impulse purchases are when you buy products that you had no intention of planning. There was no forethought. You weren't looking for it. The one that gets me, and I'll be perfectly honest here, and I've used this example in my classes before, but it's true, is I'll be walking through the chip aisle. My son Kyle wants his Cheetos. My son Caleb wants his Chex Mix. So I'm walking through and I'm getting those. And all of a sudden I look over and see that blue shiny bag and those Doritos. They're just screaming, "Eat me, eat me, eat me!" And I can't leave them on the shelf. That would not be kind. So I have to put them in my cart and take them home with me. What may surprise you with impulse purchases is pricing isn't an issue. The product itself isn't a real issue. Promotion isn't a real issue. What encourages impulse purchases are two things. First of all, place. Where is that product located? If in a store it's located near a checkout counter, that's going to have high impulse impact. If it is eye level on a shelf, that will have high impact. But what gets you even more than that is the packaging. If it's an attractive, eye-catching package, that will definitely encourage impulse purchases as well. Now there are exceptions. Obviously, if a product's on sale for 50% off and there's a big display saying so, that's going to encourage it as well. But just for the average product, no special displays or promotions, we want to look at the packaging and the place. In terms of the decision-making process, it doesn't really apply to impulse purchases. You're at the purchase decision before you go through any of the other steps. So it's quite a bit different on that one. So let me sum up what we talked about so far in this segment. Before we can develop a strategy for satisfying our target market, we need to understand how they make their decision. We have to understand what's going to influence them, what they're considering, what sources they're looking for information in making that decision. And we have to recognize that this decision is going to differ greatly depending on the type of decision they're making or how much they have invested in that product. If it's an expensive product, hence a extended problem-solving purchase, it's going to differ, and we have to design our strategy according to that. I'll see you next time.